Hello everyone, my name is Sunny and my usual video format is tarot pick a card readings. But I wanted to try something new that has been on my mind since I started my channel, and that is to focus on astrology videos where I put my perspective on. Hence today's video, which will be an analysis on Saturn as a planet. So if you still wonder if I will do pick a card readings, yes, I will, but just not today. So Saturn represents structure, hierarchies, father or paternal guides, authority, and the people who hold such authority over you, status and control, restrictions, delays, a patriarchy, hard work, karmic cycles, routine, and structure are just a few terms that are correlated with this planet. The Lord of Karma, aka Saturn, moves extremely slow, just like the other generational planets. Whether you experience a natal Saturn placement in your chart or as a transit, the speed in which you will experience Saturn will be slow in a direct or retrograde motion. So to give you an example for those learning important astrology timeframes, around the age of 28 through 30, you will experience a Saturn return. The transit typically lasts around 2.5 years, and that time frame can slightly change a little, like it can be from 27.5 through 30 or 28 through 30.5, more or less around those dates. Either way, you will feel the shift of almost stress to get to the finish goal, or anxiety or impending doom and gloom as you start getting closer to it, and even still struggling with the idea that after your return things are okay, but you still don't feel safe to let go of your work mode and to get to relax a bit. It can be a possibility to want to let go of that hustle and grind to focus on different aspects in your life that are likely to be minor issues in comparison to the weight that Saturn holds on you. Saturn can also pull you into the house where Aquarius resides in your chart, as it's co-ruled by Uranus and Saturn. Sorry, I'm getting tired. But my primary focus is just to focus on Saturn and its Capricorn energy in this video. But it is important to note an important note to point out that if you feel sometimes that the interpretations of Saturn don't fully make sense when you see your chart, so just letting you know that I'm just gonna focus on Saturn in Capricorn mostly. But it can still apply to Aquarius. There's a lot of fear mongering when people hear Saturn return, so it's only natural for people to despise it because of rumors or experiences they've heard from loved ones or acquaintances. But if you learn more about it, you ease your worries and receive it with a game plan, ready to attack when the time comes to experience it, even if it's your second Saturn return or third, if you get to live that long. So how well do we know Saturn if we don't get up and close and personal when it's with its significance in our lives? If we forever fear its presence, when will we advance ourselves to be in a better position, or to develop thyself as a responsible, mature individual? So I'm reading from my notes, by the way, in case you're wondering. So I'm really trying to fit as much information as I can so that you get to be more or less informed. Sorry, I don't think you can. I have hair in my face. I don't know if I'll crop that out, but a Saturn return is when Saturn transitions into the sign and house of your chart where you were born. This does not mean it will always be in the same degree of your Saturn placement, but it will be close or even more move into the degree and slowly fit into the following degree. So for example, if you have Saturn in Gemini at 9 degrees and in your Saturn return it comes at 8 degrees, then it moves at 9 degrees and so on. So it'll be kind of slow when you notice it, that it'll go back and forth. You'll notice that. So you won't always feel like an intensity when it comes to that degree, right? So either way, you can feel the most intensity when Saturn is within 10 degrees of your degree, as you can experience its intensity several times in if Saturn retrogrades if Saturn retrogrades in your designated degree in a retrograde transit. I'm getting a little bit tired, so I apologize. Saturn does not have the capacity to retrograde. Saturn does have the capacity to retrograde once a year for about 4.5 months. So if you thought the roller coaster had passed and you passed the scary drop, it can go back and do it again. So just giving you a FYI in case you're you're kind of dreading it. It's a slow buildup, and it's a slow drop as well. So your Saturn return will always ask of you to step up to the plate. So wherever Saturn is placed in your chart is where you will face the most challenges. A good analogy to go with with this is if you have a home for over 10 plus years, right? So you notice it has been damaged with mold because of water damage. So you go back to slowly fix it, the walls, the roof, the foundation, because if you don't, the structure of the house creates further damage to the home. So your health and the value of the home can go down. And likely in this scenario, you don't have much money to spare. So you work in restructuring the faulty, unstable foundation little by little, like a true Saturn transit, so it doesn't create even bigger problems down the road because you ignored it, right? So some examples on how a Saturn return can play out for each house play like the following, right? So I would like to take the time to reintroduce to introduce you to some of the themes you could experience with Saturn in each house. So I hope you enjoy listening to my interpretations of my Saturn series, and without further ado, this is Saturn in the first. So I hope you enjoy. So for the first house, Saturn in the first, if you have your Saturn in the first house or in Aries, then there'll likely be a focus on the physical body, likely chronic flare-ups in the skin, face, head, scars, injuries, headaches, acne, eczema, and energy levels. Migraines, for example, are things of the sort that you're going to be having issues with chronically to deal with consistently. So it can also stem into learning to deal with your temper, as Saturn is a planet of restriction. Therefore, you're having to work with the lack of patience, or if there's affliction, right? And just, letting you know, in this house, it's having to work with making a stance, placing boundaries, standing up for yourself in a physical way where your body is asking of you to care for itself and not allow the Martian energy to deplete your energy levels, and taking wiser decisions and committing an action, as you may likely be low on energy during this time. You can commit to more structure by implementing stretching or exercising, walks, light, repetitive movements as you're dealing with Saturn. Slow and steady basically wins the race. So caring likely more for the health of your skin, maybe not scrubbing so hard or irritating your skin, creating plans that you can execute physically, and changing your appearance to move to a more practical way, and maybe natural, easier habits to abide by to ease the chronic physical ailments, thus creating a more mature sense of self. Your Saturn placement, my nose is itchy. Your Saturn placement will be noticeable for others to see, and possibly even it can be critiqued, as it also represents authority figures, pointing out items to be better, like for example, parents wanting you to have better skin routine, like I said earlier, as you are aging, and pointing out that you don't have the texture as you might have had as you were a teenager, right? So remember, Saturn will make you think about this area. So what fears do you have about your external body? What is raining on your parade? This is the house of the baby. Saturn will give you that opportunity to take the time and work on creating a regimen for the body to ease into an older version of adulthood. It'll help create a transitional space for you, and I think you'll realize that you might struggle with that image that people perceive when they see you for maybe that transit period or before that, but after that period, you will likely have a healthier outlook on yourself. The Aries house wants you to have fun and explore and do without care, but Saturn places restrictions, lending to having to mature and grow up from the naivete mindset of being responsible for the body once and for all, right? So maybe you have a certain fixation on how you want to be perceived, but Saturn tests and restricts this desire to look and feel that certain way. So that's more or less what's going to be for this house. So in a certain way, right? So to sum it up, it can restrict you into gaining or losing weight, or you can struggle or having constant obstacles created to delay a certain goal. Remember that the expression of Saturn in this house can give you a light or heavy twist in the presence of other planets in this house when it's aspecting it. This is just a subtle representation of Saturn in this house of Aries. So let's say your goal is to pick it up, to give you just a little bit more details. So let's say you gain weight or you struggle to lose weight, right? For example, you can take the time to maybe use that weight and like become like not a bodybuilder, but to do more weights and stuff like that, create more structure so that eventually your body gets accustomed to that, for example, and you reach the level of goal that you want to, right? So sometimes I wouldn't necessarily say you have to, for example, eat less, but you can also do more exercise. That's what Aries wants. Aries doesn't want you to restrict you. Aries wants to build you. And if you want to build up that muscle, you want to build that muscularity, whether you're a female or male, as an Aries placement or as you having Saturn in this house with strong restrictions, the best way to do that is just by doing the hard work, right? So the hard work means building yourself up, building that muscle. And how will you build that muscle? By creating a regimen, like I said earlier, where you can build up that muscle by doing exercises or weights, for example. That's a good analysis. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will start with the second house. In the second house, which is Saturn in Taurus, or Saturn in the second, some possible scenarios you could encounter is struggling to manage money, assets, food, comfort, and priorities. You may have been accustomed to a certain routine of expenses and suddenly having to work even harder to maintain a degree of what you earned before, or having to prioritize certain bills and expenses and being frugal and not leisurely spending that isn't available to you. Accumulating wealth and will become a bigger focus, likely because you may have mismanaged or been cut off from an inheritance or a reliable source of money given to you from time to time. In this house of Taurus, ruled by Venus, there could have been a chance for others provided for you and paid for your artistic talents and craft, and money being exchanged for the providing beauty and stability, like someone dealing with decor or art galleries, making body soaps from scratch in your kitchen, working with women, children, small animals, anything related to Venusian traits and abilities being stifled by Saturn in some capacity. Or the situation reversing where it's asking you to stop doing whatever job is imposing on your creativity and artistic skills and refocus your eye into a field where you can flourish and earn a stable income by allowing you to do what you want to do deep down and still build your earnings. This is why in this house, excluding other aspects, you will encounter a refocus on your approach to money and prioritizing what makes you come alive and how you sparkle in this world. Because it is a Venus-ruled house, you could have issues relating to women, or issues on how you view femininity or yourself as a growing woman or a male connecting to that female energy, and how you grow connections with anything you put value onto that you feel that it would still provide with you something worth back. An example could be having your mother providing for you nourishing you to invest. She's nourishing you, for you, nourishing you to invest yourself in hobbies like baking, and later working in a pastry business where you can take the role of provider now and providing for your mother, or working together in a family business with her, or as well as including the rest of your family, or in a women-owned operated business, and you allow this person who nurtured you to retire or take it easy and take the back seat, much like being in a cycle, if that makes better sense. Another possible outcome could have been how you viewed women who grew up with you in a close proximity to you, like a sister, aunts, mothers, teachers, or just any strong, impactful woman in your life, having to rely on or be dependent of others for income to provide for the family, or having to work a lot just to make ends meet if you're growing up, or having basic essentials but not fun bougie items like your peers. Hence, during your Saturn return, you could be called upon to work on accumulating what makes you feel secure, or having desire that has grown so much that you can no longer ignore it. So Saturn puts you to work. So you acquire possessions for yourself to look good, or for your home, your car, or fixing up your car, to beautify your surroundings, things of high quality that you didn't easily have access to in your earlier years. And more than likely, it is fully purchased, or closer to the end or after the year of your transit, that you likely purchase these items. Like, you might work for them for an extended period of time, because that's what Saturn does. I had to take a sip of water, sorry. Remember that you will always have will always have your eye on Venusian items with a Saturnian twist. So meaning that it will likely serve you a purpose when you buy things, like I said earlier, maybe purchase of a vehicle, or fixing it, or even upgrading a car, as it's a Venus item, that it's a luxurious long-term asset. You can also start paying attention to how you dress. You may want to feel and look like $1,000,000, presentable and successful. You dress for success. You aspire to have a good image and want others to know you're trustworthy and capable of being more responsible in your own skin. And you want to show off your growth, your caliber and prestige that took you a while to create through dedication and hard work. You resisted the temptation of easy money disposals, and you saved for your future, or will be called to save for a rainy day. And then one day there won't be that many rainy days that you have to stress over, so you get to enjoy from time to time with moderation the fruits of your labors. Another way that Saturn in the second house presents itself is the restriction of food, whether it's developing food sensitivities for short-term or long-term, or being hyper-focused on food and what you're eating because your palate, throat, or stomach is sensitive to get food poisoning often, or having to clear up your food consumption because you've been eating unhealthy and your body is acting up. So you decide to figure out and test what foods work with your system, or even the opposite directions, where you suddenly don't deal with so many issues because you figured out your food triggers that your health has improved. If this was likely, if this was the likely scenario, there could be a connection with food scarcity growing up and wanting to indulge anytime you can, because the thought process you had growing up of not knowing when your next meal was, or someone picking up to eat the portions, your portion, of having to learn to eat slower or faster, can be one of the many reasons why Saturn's transit is asking you to slow down and change. Fixing that lack mentality, or living and consuming a lifestyle in excess, is what will be brought into light. Saturn wants you to take control of the reins and steer yourself into practicality, removing bad habits like hoarding or indifference to routine, and developing a healthier self-esteem. Learning how to manage a proper cost of living, increasing your values, and security are some of the primary focus obstacles Saturn wants you to face, or to build up the lack thereof, these qualities as well. So that's the end for house number 2. I will start with Saturn in the 3rd house, or in Gemini. So I apologize if I slow down. I'm getting a little tired, and if you know me, I struggle to speak for long periods of time, so bear with me. So Saturn in the 3rd, or in Gemini, will create obstacles in your communication. You will be asked to develop your speech and how you verbally express yourself, or this can also happen in writing. What you try to get across can be misunderstood, not heard, or trusted, or twisted and turned against you. This can stem from educators or people in your community with authority over you, like a neighbor or even your school peers. And siblings, is this what Mercury represents short distance travel? Or even your school peers and your siblings, as this is what Mercury represents short-term distance travel and community. This can also be experienced up to your return, or it starts in your Saturn return, and your trial is to deal with such matters. Dealing with chronic poor mental health or injuries in your fingers, hands, arms, upper torso, respiratory issues, chronic infections in these areas like pneumonia, dry cough, dry skin, although that's partially Mars related too. Saturn is a dry, cold planet, so it would make sense that there's some things popping up relating to this, or anxiety and panic attacks can likely I'm sorry. Hold on, give me a second. I be experienced, so proper breathing exercises could help alleviate the discomfort, and learning about the mind and the importance of mental health and the proper breathing can point you to the direction you need to address. This does not mean I'm giving you medical advice. This is just one way it can play out, and not everyone will experience this. There are hundreds of possibilities in each house, and I'm just expressing my opinion. So moving on to more Saturn scenarios. Saturn can create higher movement and moments of depression. Keeping that in mind, those solemn moments can be brought into by Saturn, as Saturn isolates you in the third house. Themes can be at fault in this transit, such as coming from poor communication in school or after school programs, sibling rivalry, I can't say that word. Sibling rivalry, there you go. Being ignored in the neighborhood or any location close to home that requires you to be transported to, and are some options you may encounter. Having a close and personal relationship with your early childhood environment would be difficult, or likely will not be remembered with the most positive. Sorry, I'm getting very, very itchy nose. Give me a second. Just give me a second. Hold on. Let me drink some water. You could have... Sorry. Okay, where was I? Having a close and personal relationship with your early childhood environment would be difficult, or likely will not be remembered with the most positive memories. You could have felt excluded or left out, or unconsidered, or even if outside sources may have not been purposely done this action from your perspective. That's how it came across as. Leaving this icy sentiment towards third house matters. You could have been told that you weren't bright enough or not academically up to par to the rest of your peers or siblings. You could have had better grades, and studying felt restrictive to you in this house. It is up to you to figure out if you want to try and heal this sour and bitter taste left by your community growing up, facing your fears during your Saturn return. This can be a scenario where it can trigger slow learning abilities, reading delays, issues with speech or slower speech, taking longer in wanting to talk, being nervous that you shut down because of fear, or being judged by others, likely like how I mentioned earlier, And I also think that this can make you want to speak faster as you age, because you want to fit in as much information as you can in a conversation, or because you just didn't want to be talked over. Strong feelings of oppression in verbal written expression are strong, so make sure that you don't do onto others as you mature, because it was done onto you. So this can be a tricky cycle to break from Saturn's transit. And why do I say that? Because this is the house of Gemini, the trickster. Navigate by using your Navigate that by using your mind, and strategize by being cunning, and elevate your thought processing. You could have been molded by your elder siblings, but not shown that much affection. Just enough caring for you to have your basic needs met. Like taking care of you, feeding you, watching you, putting you to sleep, etc. Also, it's likely that you could have having a significant age gap between you and your older siblings, like an 8-year plus gap, for example, and that could have been why you didn't talk so affectionately towards each other, or your older sibling towards you. They couldn't relate to you as much. On a final note, this is sorry. I'm almost done, don't worry. If you work on developing a steady flow of communication during your Saturn return, the years to follow can become much easier and lighter in energy when it comes to touching third house subjects and building positive memories with writing, speaking, communication with siblings, and childhood neighborhoods that you grew up in. That Gemini, mercurial jester energy may want to trick Saturn, but Saturn will only take the joke if Mercury does the assigned tasks first. So I'm debating if I should give you the 4th house or leave that to a different video, because I don't want to make it too long. I didn't realize how long it was going to take. I just realized it's almost 30 minutes. Let me see if I can do it, because I don't want to get too tired either. Let's see. I didn't do this on, like, I didn't quite leave it to me to not put my notes in order, but majority of the 4th house is in order. But I do think that I might leave this for a different video, because it is kind of long and I don't want to bore you guys with so much information. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. I hope you guys enjoyed that.